and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. Thank you very much for coming over here to check out this reading. I'm doing this reading today for the conjunction that's taking place with Pluto and Jupiter. It's the third time that this is happening in 2020, the third and final conjunction of Pluto and Jupiter, two major planets in Capricorn, have been in Capricorn for the whole of 2020, since the conjunction that happened at the beginning of the year in January as well. If you know anything about that, it has been one of the things that's had one biggest effects on us across the whole world at this time. It is so huge. And this Pluto conjunction with Jupiter being the last time is because it has gone retrograde. Both of them have gone retrograde together. Now, Pluto and Jupiter have a 13-year cycle, and so they meet up every 13 years, and they will do so in a sign. Whichever sign they're in, it will have the biggest effect for that sign. So in Capricorn, it's all about establishment, it's all about governments, it's all about governance, it's also about mastery. It's also about, in some ways, power as well when Pluto comes into the picture. Because Pluto is all about power, it's all about death and transformation, as well as birth, rebirth, poison, scandal, all those kind of darker, deeper secrets, things that are hidden underground. It's the realm of the Lord of the underworld. So many things could be coming up to the surface at this time as well, because Jupiter is the big, magnificent, beneficent planet, whereas Pluto is actually the maleficent planet. So Pluto always works through adversity, and Jupiter always works through positivity, harmony, joy, optimism. And so when the two come together, Jupiter, being the larger of the two, will win out. But it is one heck of a battle that has been taking place over this last year. And so for me, what it's kind of implying is that somewhere on our global system of what is happening at this time, something is coming to an end, something huge, something that is so big that the universe, in its wisdom, decided that we needed to have Jupiter and Pluto meet up 3 times in order for that to be completely destroyed. Completely. That's another thing with Pluto as well. Pluto is the destroyer, a bit like Kali in Hindu as well. Very similar kind of energies. So basically we have this happening. It has just happened today, just before I sat down to do this video. In fact, it happened in the UK at about 20 to 8 today. And also I'm going to incorporate into this as well the Mars stationing direct energy, which is going to be happening at midnight on the 14th. So tomorrow night at midnight, going into Saturday, Mars has or will be stationing direct, which means that when Mars starts moving forward in a couple of days' time, then things are going to speed up, things are going to pick up, things are going to really start to move, energy is going to shift, and we're going to see things happen in a very fast fashion, particularly with this Pluto conjunction with Jupiter still taking place in the background as well. This, although it's exact at this time, it has been coming together slowly for the last few months, I would say, and getting closer and closer over these last weeks as well. So if you've been feeling this heaviness, this kind of doom feeling, as though everything's going to pot, as if, like, you know, we're going to hell in a basket kind of feeling, that's probably got a lot to do with it at this time. So the energy for this reading, I am using some cards that I have used once before. I don't really know the cards. I love the cards. but I tend to try and steer clear from reading the interpretation from the book and actually try and interpret them in my own intuitive style. So I'm starting off the reading with this card here, which for me, I have no idea what it's called or anything, but my interpretation of this at this time is seeing this huge hand here as resembling this kind of tyranny, which is something that Pluto will be ending. This is something that always ends in this 13-year cycle, is somewhere on the planet some tyranny finishes. Something like the fall of the Berlin Wall, or like, you know, the fall of the USSR, that kind of energy, something so huge. But here I see this hand as being the grip of power. This is us, this flame, this spark, this kind of spiritual spark, if you like, is how it's coming through to me today. This kind of nugget of gold, this light, this brightness, this stream of consciousness as well. It feels to me like this stream of consciousness that is creating this. And this hand is trying to crush this out of us. It's trying to crush this awareness, this awakening, this transformation which could be taking place here. It's almost like it knows what's happening with this Pluto conjunction. It's almost like it's like two forces fighting each other. Is how it's coming through to me here. Or there's something that is like, the more we kind of become aware, the more we wake up, the more we kind of come into our own power, our own spirituality, our own divine being and awareness of this divine being, the more this hand is trying to kind of crush that out of us, crush that life, that spirit, that divine spark, is how it's coming through for me. And so we have as our challenge at this time this card here, which is a really interesting card because it's surrounded, if you look here, it's surrounded by these kind of stone people, or these which to me is representing all these different governments, all these different entities that kind of control, and again fitting in very nicely with this hand here, these watchers, like everything we do is being watched. It is our challenge at this time. So it goes that way. There is, I don't know if you can see it very clearly, my finger is here, there is this figure at the very end of this bridge. If you follow it back, you can see there's this bridge, and it's like it's come to the end of this bridge, and it's kind of reminding me a bit of the card of the Fool in the tarot deck, where we have to take that leap into the unknown, into something that we have no idea of what's coming next, but we have to trust. We have to trust our own kind of divine spark. We have to trust our connection to something much bigger than us, that is kind of guiding us. And it feels as though we've kind of been pushed, shall we say, down this pathway here, down this bridge, that we've kind of come to the end of this here, which for me is also this Pluto conjunction that is taking place at the time, because it is an ending, it is a finality. But something else is going to come out of it, and it's like if we leap into these flames, it feels a bit like that phoenix rising from the ashes here. And that, because if you look at these characters here, they don't look particularly pleasant. They don't look as though they've got our best wishes at heart here in this card for me. It's kind of, because these cards are also like multi-dimensional cards as well. You can see so much in them. There is so much that is being represented in these cards that I will kind of bring in that multi-dimensional representation as and when I think that it's appropriate. So at this time I'm seeing these as that kind of the higher energy that is also on some level responsible for this, shall we say, for this control. And that it's not just those beings on the earthly realm that we are aware of that are kind of forcing our hand, or forcing this character here who is representing for me the human soul, the human race. You can just barely see him there, he's just there, this tiny little character, and he has got nowhere else to go. He can't go back down this path because he'll just repeat the past if he does that. And it's like we have been doing this over and over again, just repeating the same story in our evolution, shall we say, up to date. The conjunction that happened back in January, and I will get to that actually, I won't talk about that now, I will get to that at some other point because it does come out in one of these cards very strongly for me. But there is this light here which is kind of coming through the gap between these figures. And this to me is the consciousness. This to me is the kind of the higher divine energy that is being kind of, again, it feels like it's but kind of being hidden, or it's like it's trying, they are trying to hide it, they are trying to remove it from our lives, or convince us that it doesn't exist, even like this higher sense of consciousness, of awareness that we are so much more than just the sum of our parts, that we are more than just this physical being that lives our lives on this planet. And they have managed to do this by kind of manipulation, control of our educational systems, of our history, of our medicine, of all sorts and everything, like philosophy, our understanding of life. It's like, it feels like this kind of like, you know, these kind of group meetings of secret societies in a way, that meet up and decide what the future is going to be for us, rather than us having any say in it ourselves. And this light that is kind of coming through here is kind of saying to me, you know, that they can't stop this. They can't stop this. They have been trying for a long time, but they can't stop this conscious awakening from happening, because that's how I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this as this conscious awakening, and it's kind of getting to this edge of this cliff, and when we get to the edge of the cliff we have to leap, we have to. And last year I think it was, I had a most bizarre dream which was quite similar to this actually, when I think about it now. I was walking along something very, very similar to this. It was like a bridge that was like wooden, and it had gaps in it, and I could see the grass below me, but the bridge was kind of going up at a slope, and there was somebody walking beside me, like a guide, and we were having this conversation. I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, but I remember him saying to me, when you get to the end you have to fly. And that was kind of the main part of this dream that I was being told, was that when you get to the end you have to fly, you have to leap, you have to go and trust. You can't go back. That's basically what he was saying to me. He said, it's like, you can't go back, you know, you cannot turn around and walk back into your past. It's not there anymore. And if you do, then you're not going to evolve, you're not going to grow, you're just going to stay in the same place, which is really what they are, kind of keep us trapped in that energy to stop this divine spark from evolving, from learning more about itself. So that's how it's coming through for me today. Because there is a planet in the background there as well, which looks like the moon. I mean, it might be the moon. Which does represent the subconscious and also our emotions as well. So it could also be saying, you know, take note of your dreams even at this time. That we need to kind of become more aware that not everything is in the physical realm, is how it's coming through. So what's in our head and what we are aware of at this time is an interesting card as well, because again I'm seeing this as being trapped, as I was talking about earlier, this being trapped, this spider representing this hand here and this cobweb that kind of spreads out all around the globe in various different ways of control, through various different forms that they've managed to kind of create this connection for themselves, and we are like their flies in their web. We are kind of caught and trapped. But down here, if you look down here, you can see there's like all these insect buddies that have come along with this ladder, and it's kind of like they're all there and they're ready to go to war, basically. They're ready to come and rescue this little chap here who's been caught by this not very pleasant looking spider, which really does for me represent that kind of like, you know, into everything kind of energy with all these legs. It's like, you know, the kind of everything, like hand in every pie, so to speak. And he's not a particularly nice looking creature at all. So yeah, these little creatures down here, it's almost like these are the ones that are awake, and these are the ones that are, or this one here, which is representing for me those that are still kind of trapped in that kind of matrix, if you like, or that kind of sleeping non-awareness state. And it's like all of these little creatures or these bugs which represent for me those of us who have kind of reached a point of understanding and awakening within the conscious awareness. I kind of saying, like, you know, you can wake up too. It is possible. You don't have to stay trapped in that energy. You can free yourself. But it is something that you have to do for yourself eventually. It's like people, these little chaps down here can help, they can assist, but at the end of the day it's like saying, you know, you can choose to stay in this trap and believing this kind of, this is the reality of the world, this cobweb here, this matrix, that this is all there is, or you can break free. But they have the ladder down here in order to assist in this process. So this is what's in our heads at this time. And again, I feel that this is the Pluto Jupiter conjunction energy. Like, this is the Pluto energy, if you like. The darkness, the hidden, the secretive, like I was saying, secret societies, the way the world is really run, all that kind of thing. And these little bods down here, they all represent this Jupiter energy of kind of optimism and hope and belief that things can change and that it's going to get better. Because that's very much what Jupiter is about. It's about bringing the light, for me, bringing the light into the dark here. Jupiter to the rescue. Bringing it up out of the hidden, whatever's been hidden, being brought into the light for it to be dealt with and to be looked at and finally kind of transformed, ended. So the energy that we've been working with here, but what's moving away, it feels to me like this is the expression of where we have been over this last year when it comes to this pandemic, this virus that we've all had to contend with. And this is how I'm seeing this here, like this fear. This represents the fear, and these people down here are caught in that fear. They're all kind of wrapped up together. They're all a part of this. They have given in, so to speak. They have allowed the fear to override them. So they are the same in many ways as this little creature here. This is these group of people down here who have given in to this same thing. But again, it's kind of like going back to this energy here as well. It's like something that is not necessarily of the physical, because fear itself is an energy, it is a vibration, and when you have enough of something like that vibration, you kind of can create it, so it can become like an actual what's the word I'm looking for here? It can become like it's not a physical thing, it's I hesitate to use the word spiritual as well, because it's not like a spiritual thing. It's like something that is created out of the conscious energy. When there's so much of it all together, it creates this entity. That's the word I'm looking for, this entity. And this is how I'm seeing this fear driven, this entity has driven. It's like a catch-22 situation as well, because the more the fear is fed, the bigger it grows, the more people get entangled within it. And of course then it kind of feeds itself again, so it's this kind of ongoing process of fear and entanglement. And that's what I'm seeing, these two energies here. And these people down here, I am seeing these people down here as these little chaps down here as well, representing again that kind of Pluto energy, that kind of darkness, that kind of... Because Pluto can also be about our fears as well, very Scorpio energy too. But I'm also seeing it in a way as the kind of Mars energy as well, because Mars can also play on our fears, and we've had Mars retrograde for a long time now. Like I said, it is about to station direct on the 14th. So tomorrow night, Friday night, midnight, it will change. It will literally station. And like I was saying, it's almost like our warrior nature, the fight within us has been subdued, because when Mars goes retrograde, it kind of brings that energy down into a much more kind of, I wouldn't say repressed place, but it's more, it's not as fiery, it's not as dynamic, it's not as spontaneous, it's not as passionate. There's a kind of sense of people are too exhausted. People, especially as it gets closer to the point where Mars is about to actually stop in the sky, which is what is happening tomorrow night, there's this sense of like, oh, too tired, been doing this for so long, can't keep doing this, it's just exhausting. And when you get to that point, it can sometimes be a lot easier to just give in. And that's kind of where we are standing at this moment. We've kind of lost our fire and our passion and our drive at this time. But like I was saying, it is going to kick back in very strongly, right up until the end of the year. So things are going to shift. There's going to be a lot of shifting energy from now right up until the end of the year. With this Pluto Jupiter conjunction, Mars retrograding, and then Jupiter and Saturn meeting up at the very 0 degrees of Aquarius on the 21st of December. I think Saturn moves into Aquarius early December, 14th of December, I think. Saturn might actually enter, and then I think Jupiter joins on the 21st, and they meet up at 0 minutes or something, 00 something minutes, I can't remember exactly. But they are still at the very kind of very beginning of Aquarius, so that is really going to change. The energy is really going to shift at that point as well. But for now, we have this energy moving in, which is quite an interesting energy, and it can be read 2 different ways. And I will read it both ways. So the first way that you can read it is that this little person there in the middle can also be seen as being this little person standing on the edge of this bridge waiting to leap. And when he does leap, or when we leap, it's like we're falling down, and there's all these pointy things kind of, it's like, you know, falling down into the unknown, not knowing what's down there, not knowing what's coming, taking that leap. But it can also be viewed as being, and I see this as a kind of star energy as well, because of the actual shape here, somehow for me kind of represents this star. And it can be seen as this little being kind of floating. It can also be seen as kind of like a lake of some sort, and kind of falling into this like a safety net as well. Something that kind of cushions the blow, softens the blow, that we're okay, that we've got all this. This is all the fear, I feel, but this is all the craziness. It's like leaping and kind of all of this represented by this energy here is kind of escape. It's like escaping all of this. But the only way we can do that is to leap beyond our fear. Because it's our fear that's holding us in place at this time and keeping us small and entrapped. And again, it's kind of reminding me of this energy here as well, of these beings, because if you look at these rocks here, they do kind of have these face like dragons or reptiles, or you know, some kind of alienness about these pointy rock creatures that could also represent these same thing here as well. And us kind of leaping into this energy, this unknown energy. It could also represent, on some level as well, this kind of, because it looks to me like going into something. But it's moving beyond this fear, beyond this control, beyond this elemental force somehow that's keeping things, keeping the status quo is how it's coming through. Keeping the status quo as it is. And this little being here has decided that he can't do the status quo anymore. We, as a conscious collective, this little being representing we as a conscious collective, can no longer allow this to control. And so by taking that leap, by kind of finding our strength and our courage and our fierceness, our kind of facing our demons in some way, facing our, it is kind of reminding me a little bit of the Five of Wands card of the tarot now as well, of where the monsters always look so much bigger when we imagine them than they actually are when we face them. Like the bully that bullies us always has a kind of, in our head they have more of a what's the word, not control, it's not control so much as it is about I suppose, well, in a way it's control, because they control through their fear, through their use, their tactics, their fear tactics. So in a way it is control, but it's something else as well. But when we face that fear or face that bully, they often kind of fall down, they often kind of like, you know, back off. They're not as scary as our imagination paints them out to be, creates them as being. And that's what's coming through for me here, that it's not as scary as we think it's going to be. Maybe this is also the change, the upcoming changes that we're going to be going through. But interestingly, in the subconscious, I should have spoken about this. Interesting that I didn't do this card before I did the outcome, or the energy moving in, should I say. This for me is the conjunction that took place in January. I'm seeing that because of this kind of frozen image here. It looks like the cosmos, like 3 planets joined up together here. And in January, when Saturn and Pluto came together, there was also Mercury was there, the Sun was there. There was a lot of activity at that time. And that's kind of how it's coming through for me, that this was what kind of set it all off, because this is in the subconscious realm. So this is almost like the root energy here of what else has come out of this, all the change that has occurred because of this meeting up of these planets, which can also represent what is happening now as well with the Pluto-Jupiter conjunction. This being the last time that they will meet up together for 13 years, as I was saying. But also for me, the conjunction that took place at this time, back in January, had an interesting path. And the countries that it had most effect on were Asian countries. And we're seeing a lot of activity taking place at this time, for those who are taking any notice, out in Asia, with India and Japan, China, even Pakistan, Australia, all being affected. They all seem to have been kind of the most affected. And of course, this whole situation here, what this represents here, actually started out in China as well. So this is kind of representing for me China itself. That's how I'm seeing this. Kind of very isolated, if you like, because this is exactly what China is kind of doing to itself at this time, is isolating itself. And I also believe personally that this is where the tyranny, if you like, is going to change, where there is going to be a massive, major ending happening here. Personally, I think it's going to, what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to play out mostly through what is taking place in China at this time. And if you aren't aware, if you haven't taken any notice of what's happening in China, I would suggest that you go and look it up online at this time as well, because there are big changes happening. But of course, China does tend to kind of keep things very secret, and also this, for me, very much represents that energy. The dictatorship, the tyranny, the squashing of any spirituality, the complete and absolute control of even the slightest spark of anything spiritual in China is not allowed. And also, I do believe that this is the same system, shall we say, that they are trying to bring in at this time all around the world. So, the card of hope and fears is an interesting card, because here we have this like an ent being, like this tree being, or this nature being, or our own true nature is how it's coming through for me. Our connection with nature, that there is no separation, that we and nature are one and the same thing. But then there is this like this robot being, or this stone creature down here, but I'm seeing it more as a kind of robot AI type of creature. And I'm also kind of getting, again, this same connection here with this as well. This crushing of the human spirit, crushing of the human soul. But here, this creature here, and he's really big, and it kind of represents to me, again, that cosmic connection of the people en masse coming together to overcome this energy here, to finally stand up as one conscious awareness, so to speak. There's an interesting kind of yellow background happening there as well, which kind of represents the sunshine, joy, happiness, possibly even Jupiter energy as well, because I do tend to see Jupiter as a big light in the sky. And wherever Jupiter kind of focuses his attention on, he magnifies it, he expands it, he makes something bigger, larger than life. Can also blow everything out of proportion depending on the planets involved. But that's how it's coming through for me, is that this kind of being here is kind of trying to rise up and take over, and the human nature, if you like, represented by this energy here, is standing up and kind of in its sovereignty, in its awareness of itself, and that it's got every right to stand up. It's got every right not to be governed by somebody else. Because that's what this is representing for me. It's representing the need to control, the need to govern, the need to... because it's like AI, or it's kind of stone-like, it's kind of cold, it's hard, it's harsh, there's no compassion, there's no warmth like there is with this tree creature here, because he's still connected. He's still connected to the earth, he's still connected to everything else, whereas this is an energy that doesn't have that connection, it doesn't have that empathy, it doesn't have that light, that spark that is needed in order to be able to connect. There is no connection with this energy. No connection. It is technology. It is everything that we are told is good and progressive and what we should have in our lives, because it's going to benefit us and it's going to help us grow and move forward and achieve so much more, and we'll be able to download our films so fast. But at the same time, we'll also be destroying ourselves and our health and our future, our planet, what we live on, what gives us everything we need. So that's how that's coming through for me, as a hope and a fear. So the fear is that this energy will rise up and overcome this energy here. And our hope is that we will be able to control this, or at least not allow it to control, to not allow it to override our lives, so that we give our power away to it. And lastly, we have this interesting card here. Now again, there is another interpretation from this, but I am going to interpret it the way that I see this. And I see this as, interestingly, for me, when I look at this, I see these as kites. They don't have any strings attached to them, but I see them as kites. Very colourful kind of kites, but I also see them as representing freedom, free spirits, being able to soar, being able to fly, being able to go where they want to go, do what they want to do. There's no limitation. There's nobody telling us you can't do this, you can't do that, you've got to have this or that or the other. But I also see this character here who is surrounded by these flames as being kind of crouching there in fear. And it's like they're in fear of their own freedom, is how it's coming through for me. But the idea of freedom scares them, and they want to stay trapped. They want to stay in that energy, or even though there is this kind of this spark is there, this idea of freedom is appealing, but it's also scary. Responsibility for their own life, for the actions that they take, and the consequences of those actions. And this is kind of what's keeping this energy here for me. I see this as being much more, as I say, like transformed souls in a way. Those that have taken that leap and have fallen beyond and come out the other side. And they're kind of encouraging this one to do the same. But this one is too scared still. They're still kind of caught in that energy of fear. Even though, like I was saying, the idea is there because there is this flames all around them. But they're hesitant. They're hesitant because they don't know what will happen if they take that leap. Where will it take them? If they leap off that edge and they end up falling, where's it going to take them? And ultimately it will lead to freedom. If this person here allows it to happen for themselves. So, just having a quick glance at the time there, I'm going to finish the reading there, I think. Although at the bottom there was an interesting card that came out underneath as well, which I'd quite like to just show you, which is this kind of this little being here carrying this kind of mushroom house. With this tree in the background as well. Again, that kind of representation of nature itself. And the sun, if you can see there, the sun is just kind of popping up over the horizon. And kind of saying, you know, there is a new day coming, a new day is dawning here. And it kind of represents for me this new growth, this new life, something else. And if you look up here, there's this kind of, like this, looks like this ghostly kind of energy. And then over here we also have the symbols of we've got the pound sign and the dollar sign there as well. And then in the very corner here we have a graveyard, or a gravestone with a cross on it. So it's kind of saying to me that this is the energy that is going, this is dying, this is the old, this is the old way of life. And this is a kind of returning to Mother Earth, Because if, again, that's interesting. I've just, yeah, okay. Really interesting. For me, anyway. I've just seen something which, like, totally, it's like this is also a hand, but it's open, and it's like it's there, but it's open, it's protective, whereas this hand is like grasping, it's crunching, it's destroying, it's kind of yeah, like that iron grip, whereas this is kind of open and saying, you know, you have free will, you can go where you please if you want, you know, your little house here. Kind of representing, symbolically representing our, well, it's interesting because it's got lots, if you see it, it's got lots of, I don't know if you can see it kind of looks to me like cells on a cellular level. It's tricky. Probably easy to see it like that. It's kind of, there's lots of segments to it, lots and lots of little segments. So it's kind of coming through to me almost like a body. Like change right down to a cellular level is kind of how it's coming through to me. And also, just noticed as well, that's interesting. This little, there is a little creature here as well. This tiny little creature here. He's also down there. Interesting. Almost like he's kind of trying to carry this energy, trying to lift it up, take it away from this grip. And this is much more, as I was saying, I feel that this is much more the kind of technology side of it. And the, I listened to something quite recently, actually, which is very interesting, where it was talking about the Atlantis energy, which was much more technology based, and apparently was supposed to have been destroyed by technology itself as well. I mean, I kind of have known this for a long time. I've heard this rumour for a long, long time, many years. And that this energy here is much more the Lemuria energy. And it's almost like this is the masculine driving energy here, much more mechanical minded, much more what's the word I'm looking for here? Much more, not distracted, not the word, removed from nature, removed from being a part of all of this. And whereas this energy here is much more feminine, like I was saying, this is Atlantis and this is Lemuria. And Lemuria represents the feminine nature, the connection with nature, the understanding that everything is one in nature. And that somehow the kind of gap between the two it's about balance, it's about bringing things into balance. But also the sense of that while we believe that we only live one life and that there is nothing else and we don't reincarnate, which is kind of the message that is pushed, especially here with this very domineering very masculine, very dictator, tyrannical energy, and the country that it represents. There's no room for this energy. There's no space for this energy, as they have proved over the last 40, 50 years. Particularly with the way that they treat their own people. And if they can do that to their own people, what can they do to the rest of the world? And so the feminine energy has been very much pushed out, ignored, which is why there is no empathy, because the feminine is the energy that gives birth. It's the energy that grows, nurtures, has something actually grow within its own body, channels that through them. And the masculine energy doesn't do that. It just doesn't. There's no two ways about it. And I'm sorry for anybody who thinks that that's an untruth in this day and age, but it's the way it is. It is nature. And because of this lack of understanding of reincarnation, and that there is more than one lifetime, and that we come back and have different physical form, physical bodies, and that the masculine can become feminine, the feminine can become masculine. Everybody can give birth at some point, and has done and will do in the future. Until we kind of bring that understanding and balance back in, we're going to have a battle, it feels like, on our hands in a way. But that's kind of how it's coming through to me, is this masculine and like so much more open. This closed fist here and this open understanding of life on a much deeper level. And that is key. There is something key to that as well. Something key. Yeah, because that is what I feel is going. It's dying. It's leaving. That energy is the past. That masculine, very dominated way of living life. And I'm sorry for any men out there who may be watching this and may find it quite feminist in its expression. It's not meant to be feminist in its expression, because I do believe that we are both genders, and I also believe that we, oh, interesting, that came out earlier, definitely wants to come out. I do believe that we have both incarnations many, many times, and that is one of the things that is missing in our understanding of our journey, our evolutionary journey today. So we have Zadkiel, who has just popped out from the Angel Script cards, and he came out earlier when I was shuffling the cards, but I wasn't ready to read the cards at that time, so I put him back in. Incredible energy, all that really bright white light electric energy around his head. He looks to me very Uranian, actually. And there's little kind of sparks of lightning, electric shock, and of course Uranus is in Taurus at this time, and it's talking about wealth. So it says Zadkiel brings wealth and rewards us for our diligence. Zadkiel provides a soft place to relax, a haven of comfort. It supplies all that we need and more. After times of adversity, we are wrapped up and cosseted. Maybe that's this energy here. If Samael is a stern parent, and Samael is all about adversity, and that's really what we've been through in 2020, is this really strong adverse energy that we've had to kind of battle our way through, with Saturn and Pluto being the two major malefics who always work through adversity. So even though it is beneficial long term, short term, it's hard, it's harsh, and it's not pleasant. It's really not nice energy to have to deal with, but it's like a karmic conclusion in a way, like culmination of things. And something else I was going to say about this energy as well with this, if you're not aware, that the last time Saturn and Pluto met up in Capricorn was back in 1517. But the last time that all of these planets that were there in Capricorn met up was in the 1200s. So that's going back a long way. That's a lot of history for us to be kind of clearing out at this time, which is what I feel we are doing, is clearing out that history now, this kind of karmic culmination. So where are we? Okay, so if Samael is a stern parent nagging us to do better, then Zadkiel is a doting parent encouraging us forward with promises and prizes. We can feel safe and protected by Zadkiel even in times of danger. We can be certain that we are guided and nurtured by divine goodness. It could also be representing the Jupiter energy as well, actually. Come to think of it. Very positive, very optimistic. When Zadkiel is present, we know we can lie down in green pastures and that our cup will overflow. Zadkiel represents the abundance of the divine and reminds us that we are only separated from the infinite source of all gifts by self-created barriers. Zadkiel is magnanimous. When we stumble, we are picked up. When we stray from the path, we are gently drawn back. Through divine abundance, we are provided with a house and good food. We receive all the resources necessary for our journey in life. In turn, Zadkiel encourages us to open our own selves and give richly to others. We are confident in the flow of all goodness and are able to exchange love and resources without any sense of limitation. There is no cost counting with Zadkiel. Its generosity is boundless and it asks us for no return. So it's kind of coming through for me with this kind of energy here. And this could well be representing that kind of sterner, more Saturn restriction, Pluto energy as well. So that is where I'm going to leave this reading today, and I really hope that you have enjoyed it. It's been a little bit different. I like doing a little bit different, and I do enjoy reading these cards. They're very, very like I say, multi-dimensional. There is so much within these cards. Every time I look at them, I see something different, and every time I look at them, I see a card that I really have not even noticed before. So they kind of seem to pop in and out of dimensions. They are very unique. So with that being said, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching my video. Please, if you have enjoyed it, could you thumbs it up for me, give it a like. I will be putting a natal link in the description box down below for any of you who are interested in finding more out about the astrology that I've been speaking about for yourselves, for where your own planets are, and also for what is happening in the bigger picture of the sky at this time as well. As I was saying, things are changing, things are shifting. we're going to see a lot of movement over this coming 2 months, like through November right through to the end of December, beginning of January. So thank you very much to those of you who have liked my videos and have thumbs them up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please could you also do that as well. It does really help me to grow my channel, which is what I'm trying to do here, get my messages out there. Some of my messages are not conventional, I know, but I would really appreciate people who subscribe to my channel and just thumbs it up and let me know how you feel about it, comment about it as well. What else can I say? Share my videos if you feel that it's going to be of any benefit. There is a playlist, of course, which has all my zodiac signs on there, as well as the full moon and the new moon. I will be doing this new moon astrology that's coming up and the tarot reading for that as well in a few days' time. In the meantime, kind of enjoy the rest of this Pluto-Jupiter conjunction energy that we are moving out of. Celebrate, know that it's changing, know that things are shifting, know that things are not going to stay the same, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. This time, this new moon coming up is bringing the light into the dark as well. So interesting times ahead, folks. Please take very good care of yourselves and also take very good care of those around you at this time, and hopefully I will see you again soon.